to understand directly from the voices of mayors and political representatives what are their own community and their city's climate needs and priority. And I want to start by thanking very much the UN Climate Change Global Innovation Hub for giving me the opportunity to chair and to join what will be, for sure, a very interesting discussion. As mentioned by Niti, my name is Giorgio Rambelli. I'm the Director of Mission Innovation Urban Transitions Mission, and it will be my pleasure to be chairing this conversation for the next hour and a half, an hour 45 minutes. So first and foremost, a few words about the Urban Transition Mission. We work to mobilize decision makers across all levels of government to prioritize net zero pathways enabled by clean energy and systemic innovation across all sectors and in urban governance. We do so in particular by fostering capacity building and helping to close the gap between innovation, development and deployment of solutions on the ground, and in particular by brokering solutions that may already be existing out there at each stage of a city climate journey. And this is an important element because we have the pleasure to be supported by a number of national government and a number of partners, including the UN Global Innovation Hub, and we have been working together to really try to see how this idea, the systemic approach to include first and foremost the core human needs of people can really help our cities in applying innovative solutions to their transition. At the moment, we are working with 48 ambitious cities. One of them is present here on the stage today. Always a pleasure to be with Cascais. But we are soon welcoming another 250. And if you are around on the 4th of December, we will make the announcement or hear a cop of our next batch of new friends that will be starting to work with us from the future. So what do we want to discuss today? I kind of already mentioned that we want to really focus on the priorities and on the needs that cities are facing, but also to understand a little bit more their vision. We know that climate science, and that's why we are here today, is really showing that we need to make civilization deep and wide changes by 2030 to really meet the objective of the Paris Agreement. We also know that this is not just about understanding what the science is telling us, it's about living the change that is affecting our communities across the world, in particular the most vulnerable part of our population. And these impacts are amplified first and foremost at the local level, which is not only, of course, the place where citizens are living and using services and creating day by day their life, but also the place where we need to bear the brunt most closely of the effect of climate change. So because of that, partnership across all sectors are, of course, essential and need to bring together not only local governments, national governments, but also very much bring together other partners from the innovation community to find the solutions that are needed for these systemic approaches. Now, the good news is that, first of all, we have a trend of urbanization, which does allow us to think about transformation at the local level as a key opportunity, and also that we have over 13,800 cities across the world that have been part of initiatives and alliances like the Global Covenant of Mayors already committing to really strongly improve and strengthen and raise the ambition of their own climate action at the local level and to be at least as ambitious as the NDCs of their own country. Little word is, of course, that many of these cities have been proving already for the past year to even be more ambitious than the targets that are being set at the national level. So this is where, of course, the tools that innovation can provide are essential, not only when we talk about technologies, but in particular when we talk about new ways of finance climate action, new ways of transforming our society, and to be able to also have the regulation as well as the social measure that can help us in driving forward this transformation and make impact and support our cities on their delivery pathways to these transitions. But of course, innovation needs also to be fostered, and not only, as I mentioned, from a technological point of view. And while there are a plethora of different initiatives that are still supporting cities in implementing their vision and reducing their emissions, very often, for example, we lack these cross-sectoral approaches, this integrated way of planning, these ways of tackling the challenges that our community, these core human needs are really necessary for them to be having a better quality of life across the board. So through our exchange today, we wish to explore some of the strategies that the cities here on stage with me have been already exploring and bringing forward and learn from their experiences, and why not, also from the challenges and the little mistakes that they might have made along the way. It's always important to fail forward together and to also learn from things that did not work very well, but also to talk about the solutions-oriented approaches that they are exploring for the future in the next steps of their journey, and how this idea of bringing forward a core human need approach has been helping them in shaping better plans and better opportunities for the community locally. So I'm joined here on stage already by now by two distinguished speakers, and it's my pleasure to introduce to all of you His Excellency Lee Dong-hwan. He's the mayor of Goyang City from Korea. And beside me, Miguel Pinto-Luz is the deputy mayor of Cascais in Portugal. We will be also joined very shortly by an additional speaker, but I will introduce him when he's here, so a little bit of suspense for all of you. So to start our conversation, we have requested kindly our speakers here to give us a bit of a snapshot, a bit of a picture of what their vision, the vision of their city looks like in a short presentation, and to tell us a little bit more about how they are facing head first, really the challenges of climate change to support their communities. And I will ask maybe Mayor Dong-hwan to get us started with his presentation.
Yes. It's my pleasure to meet you all. I am Dong-hwan Lee from Goyang Special City, Republic of Korea. Goyang City is honored to participate in the UN Global Innovation Hub again this year. Just like last year. Last year, we started a project with the UN. And this year, we partnered with the British Columbia province. The research involved the Goyang City Research Institute, UGIH, and Professor Ki-gon Kim. We will share the results tomorrow. Today, I want to talk about what Goyang City has been doing to become a carbon neutral city. First, let me tell you a bit about Goyang City. It's a big city with over 1 million people. It's known for its balance between the city and nature, with lots of green spaces and rivers. What about greenhouse gas emissions? Goyang City emits about 5 million tons in total, with per capita for about 5 tons. Fortunately, emissions are going down. When we look close, buildings are responsible for 60% and transportation for 30% of emissions. So we needed to find a solution for both areas. Last year, we did a project to understand how building use energy. So we chose Ilsan West District Office and collected data from 2019 to 2021. The research showed that buildings emit about 740 tons of gases each year, and per capita emissions for 2.7 tons. The sources of emissions are energy and transportation. Our cities per capita emissions are about half of the natural average, national average. Buildings mainly use energy for heating and lighting. So we knew we had to make them more energy efficient. In transportation, our employees use public transportation a lot, and I appreciate that. But now I noticed that many citizens prefer using their cars compared to before the COVID-19 pandemic, when it was less than half. So we have made a plan to reduce emissions. We focused on using cleaner energy, making buildings more energy efficient, changing how we get around, and encouraging people to use public transportation. We increased the renewable energy and used different type of energy sources, not just one. Biomass, for example, helped create value by selling gas to a local heating company. We also worked on making all the buildings more energy efficient, like changing windows. People were happy with the changes, especially those living in aged buildings built more than 25 years ago. Since Goyang has a lot of older buildings, I find this project highly important. For transportation, we decided to replace local buses with EVs by 2025 and add more EVs and charging stations. We also made 431 kilometers of bike lanes and increased people to work and cycle with citywide bicycle insurance. To get more people on public transportation, we introduced 알뜰 transportation cards and gave rewards for walking and cycling. Many people signed up, and we expect even more in the future. We also started a demand responsive transit system for areas with limited public transportation. Goyang adopted the DRT this year. It automatically plans the best route and provides discounts for using public transportation. Thanks to all these efforts, we reached 92% of our emission reduction target last year and received a good rating in the CDP assessment this year. We hope you will keep an eye on us as we strive for a better future and maybe even join us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Dong Kwan. I think it's very interesting to hear not only this snapshot of the challenges that you are facing in some of the most carbon-intensive sectors that a city needs to tackle, transport, buildings. There are some of the areas where most cities across the world really find themselves difficulties in tackling some of the challenges faced, but also for sharing not only where the difficulties are, but how you have been applying concrete measures to try to curb these emissions, and to do so by not only using new technologies, but also, as you were saying, by bringing citizens on board, by facilitating their access to public transport, by being able to provide fiscal incentive to make them part of this transition. I think this is a very inspiring example. And I said already that some of the challenges faced are similar in the sector from different parts of the world. So we continue our travel, although we stay sitting down in our panel, and go a little bit west and travel to Portugal now. So I would like to invite now Deputy Mayor Pinto Luz to give us a bit of a feeling for what Cascais is doing and what is the vision of the city for a more climate neutral, resilient future.
Thank you very much for the kind invitation. Cascais is a mid-sized city with roughly 220,000 inhabitants. It's the second largest city in Portugal in budget terms, and it's a very exquisite place for you to live. It's a very special place. But before talking about all the initiatives that we have in place towards a vision of a net zero city, 15 years ago or 20 years ago, when I've arrived at the municipality, we had a different challenge. And I think that's a challenge that still remains nowadays, and in a conference, in a meeting like this, like COP28, is something that nobody talks about, but it should be quite in the core of everything that we have been discussing. It's trust. Nowadays, people don't trust anymore in politicians. There's a huge gap between the body of voters and the elected. Without trust, it's quite impossible to make it happen, this net zero vision or anything that we want to change in this world. So that's why one of the first measures and initiatives that we have put in place 15 years ago was trying to fulfill that gap, creating the momentum in terms of democracy, what we like to say democracy 2.0, to build up that trust. With trust, everything is much easier. This quite hard path towards net zero society would be much easier with trust between the two parties, trust between countries, trust between companies, trust between the body of voters and the elected. That's why we have, for instance, a participatory budget where 20% of our annual investment budget is decided by our citizens, is one of the biggest, the largest in the world. That's why we have a vision of a city co-creation, where its citizens are quite engaged in a daily basis with the construction of a vision for our city. That's why we don't believe anymore in a providential politician that comes with all the solutions for the city. No, we live in a society built from a grassroots movement where each and every cell of the society has a role in the vision that we want to implement. This is a game changer, because we have worked upstream to create and build up that trust. And now it's much easier for us to implement this disruptive vision of a net zero society. It's much easier for us to fail. As you have mentioned in your initial speech, it's some of these projects, they fail. I used to say to my staff and to my teams that 9 out of 10 of the projects, and we have embedded in our DNA a culture of being early adopters. Being early adopter is assuming risk, and we know that 9 out of 10 of our projects fail. But now we are able to fail. Why? Because people trust in the path that we have designed for the city. Saying this, what we have implemented after the trust, after building up all the democracy 2.0 and where citizens are part of the co-creation of the city and not anymore every 4 years just vote for us. No, we have a vision of a daily basis work together. So now, with that trust, strong trust already in place, with a strategy, a vision for the city where we have strong financials that gives us the necessary surplus that allows us to invest in new technologies, to work as VCs for startups, to work as early adopters for new technologies that nobody are using worldwide, what we have implemented. Some examples. Cascais is one of the few cities in the European Union where you don't pay for public transports. Public transports, bike sharing system, scooters are completely free for each and every citizen that lives, works, or studies in Cascais. That was a game changer. 25% of growth in terms of usage of public transportation, less cars on the streets, less carbon emissions. But that was a game changer. We have worked first on the supply, and we have doubled the kilometers produced every year. We have doubled the fleet of buses in place. We have 100 new buses, completely brand new. Some of those buses are hydrogen-driven, some are electric, and some are the state-of-the-art in terms of diesel. And we have decreased the emissions, of course. So first working on the supply side, and now we are working on the demand side. It's much, much harder to work on the demand side. Why? Again, because politicians, they like to be very popular towards the next elections. And to work on the demand side is to say, you are forbidden to use your own car in this part of the city, in this zone of the city, in this particular timetable. So, again, it's hard for politicians to say no. It's much easier to say yes. But before saying no, we have worked on the supply side, more buses in place, more kilometers produced, better quality, and now we are working on the demand side. Other projects that we have in place. Some of our buses, as I've just said, are H2 driven. We can't buy cheap H2 nowadays. And green H2, it's even harder. What we have done, we are investing as a municipality. We are working as VCs to work on startups. We are just finishing the construction of the first pilot of a plant that is producing hydrogen, green hydrogen, from burning, using plasma, burning all the wastes that we are producing, and we are producing green hydrogen from the waste that we are burning. And we have a byproduct that is biocarbon for agriculture. So another project that works in a synergical and symbiotic with our strategy, because our strategy is to make Cascais the best place for you to live a day, a week, or a lifetime. But this place to be the best place for you to live should be a net zero place, should be a very inclusive place, should be a place where you don't have inequality, social inequality. So that's why we have free public transports. That's why we are working towards a net zero vision, but we need hydrogen for our buses. So it's a positive cycle that we have implemented, and everything that we have in place works like that. Another example, agriculture. We are a city, just 20 minutes away of a European capital with an airport, 220,000 inhabitants, as I said. But actually, we are running a farm. We are producing tons and tons of vegetables every year, bio-vegetables every year. And we are selling those vegetables in our market. And when I say we are producing vegetables, we as a municipality, and we are selling those vegetables on the market, and we are using those vegetables on the food on our schools. and so on and so on. Another symbiotic and synergical approach to the development of the city and working towards that net zero, because in the end of the day, you know that part of the carbon footprint is the import of food, goods, and now we are avoiding the import of food, and we are producing our own. In the last mile vision, we are producing our own vegetables nowadays. So these kind of projects that we are working, none of them work alone as an island. They work as an integrated vision of a city, integrated vision of a society, where each and every one of us can implement our happiness project with our families, with our kids, in a very inclusive perspective of life. That's why we are investing in education in public schools. That's why we are investing in a local healthcare facility, in a local welfare state. You don't pay for any medical consultations. We have 24/7, 365 days a year, free medical consultations for each and every citizen of Cascais. Again, we are taking out taxes from the rich that are buying houses there. I'm a social democrat, and I believe in that we need to take taxes from the rich and to make a very tangible redistribution of wealth. And that's what we have been implemented for the last 20 years or so. It's a safe place for you to live. We are leading the pack in terms of net zero targets. We are leading the pack in terms of technology. We are known worldwide as a smart city. So all these dimensions created a momentum, and each and every one of the citizens of Cascais now, they believe that they belong to a broader family in this world in need for change.
Thank you very much for that. Applause for Deputy Mayor. And I can also mention that it has a great seaside and wonderful waves if you're into surfing. I haven't had the chance to go to Goyang yet. I'm sure there are beautiful things to do there, but if you're going to Cascais, I definitely will recommend it also for that. And I really like the way they framed also the type of innovation that Cascais has been bringing forward, because it's not just about one single technology, one single approach. I think it's very much in the relationship with your citizens and in the role that the municipality is playing. This idea that you can be the VC, you can be the provider of healthcare, you can be the provider of services, but also the listener that brings together the citizens and kind of co-creates together with them visions. So I think this is a disruptive way in itself to see the role that a local government can play. But maybe I would like to continue talking about the engagement of citizens and of the community. And I would like in particular to delve more into what you just mentioned, the fact that sometimes some of the services that we need to provide, like for example mobility, and we can talk about that a little bit later, some of the decisions that need to be taken are not ultimately always popular, right? And we need, of course, to be able to engage the citizens, to work with them, and to make sure that they are part of this vision. So maybe to both of you, can I ask you, what are the most challenging things that you have faced in terms of engaging the citizens? And second part of the question, how did the partnership with other stakeholders, could be private sector, for example, on the ground, or the national level, helped you, or not, you tell me, in tackling some of these challenges? I don't know who wants to go first. I understand that you need to translate, so maybe we can start with the Deputy Mayor, and you can confer with the Mayor.
시민 참여를 하기 위해서는 정말 많은 노력들이 필요한 부분이고, 실제로 그 협력 방안을 위해서는 시민들이 뭐 자발적으로 할 수 있는 구도가 아니라 뭔가 좀 당근과 채찍 같은 분위기가 필요하다고 생각합니다. 물론 교육만으로 이렇게 모든 문화를 형성할 수 있으면 제일 좋겠지만은 그 시민들의 행동을 하기 위한 방안으로서 그걸 단순히 교육으로만 해결할 수는 없을 거라고 봅니다. 물론 생활의 편의성을 도모하기 위해서 여러 가지 이제 노력들이 필요하고 특히 우리가 기후의 이런 변화에 대해서 직접적으로 이제 행동을 하기 위해서는 동기를 부여하는 것이 참 필요하다는 생각이 듭니다.
For citizens to be engaged voluntarily, there needs to be a lot of efforts to be required. And I think that most of our participation from the citizens were not voluntary act. I think that, I hope that the education was the option for engaging people to participate in such climate tackling actions, but to boost the living standards of the citizens, such as the transportation and the aged buildings agendas, I think that there still needs to be much effort to be reserved. But I think that the priority is to the motivation, to boost motivation of the citizens.
그래서 수많은 도시와 이제 국가가 그런 어떤 동기를 부여하기 위해서 사실 이제 인센티브의 제도를 도입하는 이유도 거기에 있다고 저는 생각합니다. 물론 인센티브는 지역의 특성을 무시할 수가 없는 내용이기도 하고 어떤 면에서는 적절한 보상과 감축 효과에 대한 부분을 좀 이렇게 일반 우리 시민들하고 공유한다는 그런 차원이 필요하다는 생각이 들고요. 특히 온실가스 배출 현황을 조금 파악해 보면 이 인센티브를 적용에 따라 그 지역이 갖고 있는 특성을 좀 잘 살려서 효과를 또 발휘하는 경우가 나타나기도 합니다. 우리 현실에 이런 부분들을 또 감안해서 우리 지금 기후 변화에 대한 부분의 어떤 심각성을 우리 같이 공유하고 그걸 통해서 많은 사람들이 같이 알려서 내용이 문화로 정착될 수 있는 그런 것이 정말 시급하다는 생각이 듭니다.
For nationwide agendas, many cities across Korea, they give incentives to citizens to make people to be more engaged in such climate tackling actions. And I think that appropriate reward is required to boost more participation. Also, we should share these kind of information and agendas that we have to the wider audience of our city. And as for the greenhouse gases status of Goyang City, according to the specific incentives to be applied to the citizens' participation, I think that the particularity of our features of the Goyang City, special feature of our local situation is much needed. And also we need to share the seriousness of this climate crisis to our citizens, and also we make this engagement like a culture for our citizens.
Thank you very much. I think indeed the cultural and educational aspect is essential if we are trying to move forward all together in that direction. And even the knowledge sharing element that you mentioned, I always think it's not just about the cities with the citizens, the city with the stakeholder on the ground, but even across different cities. And today is a great opportunity, of course, to do a little bit of that, but also to engage with policymakers across level to kind of share a little bit how we can better align the trajectory that we are trying to embark on to make a more sustainable future for our community. So thank you very much for that. May I ask the same question then to you as well?
Let me address this dimension of sharing knowledge, because it's quite important. Because in our field of business, IP, intellectual property, is not a source of income in itself. It's quite the opposite. The capacity that we have of sharing best practices new use cases, new ways to solve the daily basis problems of our citizens, I think that's the game changer in this global contest of making the best city for you to live. And that's why we are quite engaged in networks that gathers cities, but also, as you have mentioned in your question, the private sector, NGOs, the central state. I've been Secretary of State at the national level, so I have both visions on the local and on the central government. And I know that at the local level we have a more impact-oriented vision, but at the central government is crucial for defining the regulation, the rules that impacts in the local dimension. So all the layers must work synergically, and we can't work in silos and we can't find solutions for the problems that we need to tackle, thinking on the local government as a silo, and then the NGOs as another silo, and then the central government as another silo, and then the continental level, European Commission, for instance, another silo. No, all these different layers, they must talk, they must work as integrated as possible. Respect should be a word to create level playing field between all these layers. We don't need snobbish politicians that I'm in a different layer. Myself as a Secretary of State, I can't look to all the local politicians as a lower caste of public servants. No, we all are part of this big picture of designing a better world. I used to say that we may be part of a generation that for the first time in 100 years, we are just on the edge of delivering a worse world than the one that we have received from our ancestors. So, and I don't want to make part of that generation. So that's why I'm completely committed with this goal of net zero, but also of fighting inequality, and also fighting poverty, and also fighting gender inequalities, and all those problems of the nowadays society that we need to tackle as a whole. Politicians at local level, NGOs, national level, multinational level, and that vision of sharing knowledge, sharing best practices is the only way to find a solution for all the problems that we are living nowadays.
Thank you very much for that, and I really like this idea of the special state that the intellectual property of city has, no? This idea that the more you share it, the better. We don't want to own that. We want to inspire others and be inspired from others. And of course, I can't talk on behalf of the colleagues from the UN Climate Change Global Innovation Hub, but I'm fairly sure that this is one of the things that they have considered when they started thinking about how do we address core human needs and why do we need cities to be part of that equation, because that innovation needs to be brought forward and needs to be really counting on the support and on the vision of everyone that wants to create a better future. So thank you very much for that. I kind of want to dig a little bit more into some of the things that you have mentioned, though, because we talked about the importance of sharing knowledge, the importance of aligning and collaborating. Very often, though, some of the challenges that the cities are facing, we talked about mobility in buildings, but for example, even transitioning to a more sustainable energy system as such, they don't always belong to the mandate of the cities. Sometimes, you know, it's a national or a federal or a regional kind of mandate. In other cases, the data, the information, the tools that you need to develop a scenario like Goyang has been doing, for example, to decarbonize. You might not have all of these resources, and I'm not yet talking about finance here. I'm talking about technical resources, and kind of regulatory resources. You were saying that you were so successful, both of you, of course, in bringing this transition forward, but I'm sure that there were some steps to be taken. What would you like to share with us and maybe with other cities or other there in the room about your experience and what you would like to see next to address some of these challenges? Maybe I'll start again with Deputy Mayor Pinto here.
Short answer, I don't care. So I really don't care if it's part of my job description or not. Some areas of managing the city or managing our society. So we don't care. That's why we are working on the healthcare system, and we don't have direct responsibility on the healthcare, but we are working on the healthcare. We don't have direct responsibility on the water supply, and we are working on a project, a very innovative one, on desalinization in Cascais. So we don't care, because in the end of the day, what we really care is the common goal. And the common goal of making the society net zero, fighting inequality, fighting all those problems, it's the only thing that we should have on top of our minds to solve all the problems. So I know that sometimes it's hard. Sometimes politicians they are quite tactical and they don't assume risk, but it's not fun to be a politician as nowadays, being such a closed-minded. I have a very open mindset, and I believe in citizens that are engaged with that broader vision of a better society.
사실 우리 탄소 중립을 위해서 여러 가지 도시별로 특성이 있습니다만 우리 고양시 같은 경우에는 다른 어떤 분야보다도 이런 그 노력 자체에 차지하는 비중을 보면 건물이라든가 그다음에 이제 교통 부분에서 큰 영향을 미치고 있다고 봅니다. 건물은 사실 실제로 이제 에너지 효율을 기하는 그 건물 구조로 바뀌어야 된다는 것이 얘기가 됩니다만 실제로 그렇게 하기 위해서는 엄청난 어떻게 비용 문제가 따를 수밖에 없는 그런 구조라고 생각합니다. 전 세계가 요즘 이렇게 경제가 좀 침체되고 물가도 상승하고 이런 과정을 겪고 있는 상황이기 때문에 실제로 건물 하나하나를 제대로 이렇게 또 그런 걸 대비해서 만들어가기 위해서는 엄청난 비용을 초래할 수밖에 없는 구조이기도 합니다. 물론 뭐 이런 걸 토대로 해서 공공에서 그걸 할 수 있도록 그걸 뭐 지원하는 방법을 좀 취하고 있습니다만 그것도 예산이라는 부분들이 뭐 한정을 할 수 있는 구조는 아니라는 생각이 듭니다. 물론 뭐 기후 위기가 심각하다는 이 자체에 대한 부분을 우리 모두가 인식함으로써 비용 자체에 대한 부분으로 모든 걸 해결할 수 있는 상황이 아니라 정말 그 자체 그 큰 틀에서 이렇게 같이 할 수 있는 노력들이 필요하다는 것이 일단은 첫 번째 내용일 수도 있습니다.
Each local cities has their own agendas for the to reach the net zero cities. But as for Goyang, we have challenges specifically in buildings and transportation. For buildings, we believe that aged buildings should be changed to energy efficient. But in order to change buildings to be energy efficient, there are lots of cost to be cost to change the energy efficient buildings. But as the global economy is shrinking and the cost of living is rising, I think that it's very burdensome to make buildings to be energy efficient by the taxpayers' money. But in order to doing so, we believe that to change the recognition of the climate crisis is important to publicize the severity of the climate crisis to our citizens is the most important agenda for Goyang City.
그 실제로 우리 교통 부분에 있어서도 그 고양시뿐만 아니라 우리 대한민국이라는 나라에서 아주 짧은 거리도 사실은 대부분은 이렇게 차를 이용하는 그런 문화 자체가 좀 안타깝다는 생각도 없지 않아 있습니다만, 그냥 교통은 실제로 교통에 대한 부분 자체에 대한 것들을 어떻게 이제 좀 전환하느냐의 문제도 있을 수 있다고 생각합니다. 이를테면 무슨 연료를 사용하느냐에 따라 이런 내용들을 이제 대처할 수 있는 능력도 갖추게 되는 부분이고요. 또 하나는 교통을 이용하는 입장에서 뭐 자가용을 이용하기보다는 대중교통을 이용하는 그런 것으로 문화가 이제 좀 전환돼야 되는데, 고양시는 사실은 자가용 이용자들이 다른 어떤 도시보다도 굉장히 많습니다. 그러니까 대부분 다 대중교통보다는 승용차를 이용하는 그런 분위기가 있기 때문에 그런 부분을 어떻게 이제 바꿀 수 있는 전환을 고려해야 되는데, 그 중에 하나 이제 아까 건물과 자동차 이 교통 부분의 두 가지를 다 생각한다면 실제로 우리 수요 관리 차원에서 고민을 해야 된다고 봅니다. 수요 관리라는 의미는 뭐냐면 에너지도 좀 적게 사용할 수 있도록 만들고, 실제로 자동차도 이 개인용 자동차의 교통기구 수단을 최소화시키는 방법, 그 방법 중에 하나가 그에 대한 자기 스스로의 좀 부담에 대한 부분을 조금 느끼게 만들 수 있는 그런 제도적인 부분을 변화시키는 부분도 있을 수 있는 것 같고요. 또 하나는 만약에 우리 에너지 부분의 차원에서의 변화를 시키려면 우리가 에너지 피크 시기에 대한 부분들을 될 수 있는 대로 조금 줄이면서 다른 피크가 아닌 시간에 그걸 이용할 수 있도록 유도하는 방안이 필요하다는 생각이 듭니다. 이런 내용에 대한 부분들을 같이 고민하게 되면 수요 관리 차원에서 공급보다는 수요 관리 차원에서 관리할 수 있는 여건은 마련될 수 있는 사항인데, 이것 또한 우리 모두의 노력이 필요한 거죠. 같이 그렇게 하자는 그런 생각들의 공감대, 그 형성이 문화로서 형성이 돼야 되지 않을까 하는 생각입니다.
Compared to other cities in Korea, Goyang has a lot of population who use cars more than other cities. So I believe that the transition is much needed. I suggest the demand management. The definition of demand management is to use less energy. Second, and the minimization of the use of automobiles. And third, to make people feel burdensome when they use cars. Also, I suggest to minimize the energy peak time to motivate people to use their cars other than peak times, so that they can use less energy. All these strategies we need all our consensus effort. So also I think also it's important make people feel connected to these agendas.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that. I think your reflection around the importance of some of these measures for our future, but also how do we make sure that we can afford these measures and that we are able to also, for example, support citizens in this trajectory while renovating their homes, while deciding to attempt a model shift for their mobility is essential. And I also liked very much this idea that it's somehow, again, this disruptor role that you are mentioning of the city to kind of go ahead and try to break ground even on things that are not maybe directly their mandate, continue fostering the relationship, but kind of thinking outside of the box how this vision for a future can come together, even in fields that might not be the directly one that are responsibility of the city. And maybe because we talk about breaking new ground, I wanted to discuss with you a little bit more about the role of research and innovation when it comes to this field. I'm imagining that for many, many decades, right, we have been doing development and transitions for our cities, kind of taking sectoral approaches. And of course, there are some of them that are very impactful in terms of emissions that need to be addressed as a priority. But they kind of all have to come together to respond to the needs that the citizens actually have. Accessing their place of work, accessing the place where they live, going to school, having food, and the capacity to obtain food that is good quality throughout their life, access to energy in many parts of the world. So we need to think a little bit more holistically. So I would like to know about your challenges in shifting that mindset, because I think there is a lot of work to do even within the municipality to shift to that mindset. And maybe if you can reflect also on the partnership with research concerning this, because I think it's something that we need to explore even further in the future.
우선 이러한 것에서 분야별 접근이 중요한데요. 시민들이 등교한다든지 출근을 한다든지 장보기 같은 여러 일상생활을 영위하는데 시민들이 이런 차를 이용하는 게 많은 경우가 있는데 그런 시민의 의식을 바꾸기 위해서 특별히 고양시에서 하고 있는 행동을 어떤 것을 취하실 예정인지 궁금합니다.
어떻게 보면 굉장히 어려운 과제 중에 하나라고 생각이 듭니다. 사실 시민들은 자기가 편리하고 이용하기 좋은 거에 수단을 이용할 수밖에 없는 그런 구조인데 그것을 전환시켜 나가기 위해서는 아까 말씀드린 것처럼 어떻게 보면 그걸 제대로 활용하기 위한 인센티브에 대한 자기한테 편리함을 떠나서는 방법이 필요한데 최근에 아까 그 알뜰 카드에 대한 부분뿐만 아니라 대중교통을 이용하게 되면 실제로 본인한테도 더 도움이 되고 시간 절약도 되고 사회적 비용이 줄어든다는 것에 대한 그런 것들을 가질 때 그것이 이제 자연스럽게 바뀌어지기 때문에 고양시 자체에서도 실제로 그런 방법적인 부분에 대한 내용을 자체적으로도 하는 방법이 있지만은 이를테면 옆에 다른 도시들하고 연계해서 이런 내용들을 그렇게 만들어 가려고 지금 생각하고 있는 중입니다.
I think it's the most challenging topic for Goyang to tackle. Also, to make people to use less cars, we prioritize on giving them incentives to make them think that using transportation is more advantageous for them. Also, as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, the Alter card, the incentive card for the citizens. Also, I think it's important for people to think that using public transport is time-saving and less social cost. I believe that it will change naturally if we push these agendas for our citizens. But I think partnership with our cities, other cities in Korea is also important to tackle these issues.
Oh, thank you very much. And I think it's a concrete example where, for example, I feel that better investigating new options of engaging with citizens, finding new solutions to prompt them to use, for example, more sustainable mobility could be an area where further research and partnership with academia and innovators could be quite helpful, for sure. So thank you very much for sharing that as a priority example. Deputy Mayor.
In terms of mindset and changing mindset is quite hard. So that's why we have in place a system of incentives that works like a loyalty program, and it has been awarded 4 years ago by United Nations as one of the best apps in the world for social engagement. And we award our citizens with points if they use more public transport and less the private car, if they use the bike sharing system, and so on and so on. And it's like sharing points in a very sustainable way, not in a vision of Big Brother, not in a vision of creating prototypes of citizens. No, each and every one of us are different, and it's good to be different, but in a sense that we must create positive incentives towards a common goal. That's the first dimension of your question. The second dimension is how we create synergical relationships with research groups, research labs, implement new policies, test new technologies, and we impact on that dimension, attracting those universities, those schools to the municipality. That's why we have Nova School of Business and Economics, and we have created and raised more than 100 million euros to construct the campus, and now is one of the top 40 business schools in the world. And we are working together, the municipality, with the business school in matters like ESGs, in matters like participatory budgeting, in matters like public policies, and so on and so on. That's why we have attracted the campus of the medical school, of the best medical school in the country, for the municipality, and we are working on dimensions such as aging and how we can design public policies to impact on the healthcare side, on the aging side, because aging, as we know, are impacting on the social welfare state and the sustainability, financial sustainability of the system. So we are attracting the schools that we need and the labs that we need to fulfill our goals, and that's the game changer again.
Apologies, just a second.
Nice to meet you.
Now we will you speaking until the end of the session, because we No, that's okay. I was just mentioning you the. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much and welcome. I know.
Sorry, that's not my fault. But
No.
crowded outside. From 12 o'clock.
Absolutely. We are very, very delighted to have His Excellency Khalid Moin Al-Husani. He's the CEO of Public Health and Environmental Sector of Ajman City, here from our host country. Thank you very much for having us all here.
Just 5 minutes give me to brief. I will brief our achievement, and we can start.
Continue the discussion. Yes, perfect.
I will give you the brief first.
Wonderful. So just a second.
I will give you the brief about my city and what the achievement, and we can start the discussion or listening something. Okay.
Please.
First of all, I would like to thank for this opportunity to thank you about. Sorry, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the organizer for inviting us to this panel discussion and to talk about our initiatives towards sustainability and climate change. First of all, let me give you. Sorry. First of all, let me give you a brief introduction about Ajman. Ajman is one of the 7 emirates, and this is the smallest, with a total area of 260 square kilometers, and the total population of Ajman are recorded in the most recent census about 570,000. Ajman Municipality and the Planning Department, under the leadership His Highness Sheikh Rashid bin Hamid Al Naimi, the chairman of Ajman Municipality, has been contributing for years to achieving the UAE's national goals that are related to sustainability. Now to illustrate the main initiatives and achievement toward environmental sustainability, climate adoption and mitigation practices have been performed. The following practices reflect the amount of effort done by Ajman Municipality and the Planning Department. We will start with the air quality. In order to contribute to overcoming the air pollution challenges in the United Arab Emirates, Ajman has achieved the following. Ajman Municipality progressively and monitored to measure air quality of the Emirate of Ajman due to the reference and this research-based air quality measurement and monitoring station network. The Emirate of Ajman achieved and sustained 93% green days. To continue with this state-of-the-art technology, Ajman Municipality uses a smart lab within the air quality measurement and the monitoring network. This lab has been integrated with the existing modern monitoring station in the Emirate. And for waste management, I give you briefly, not too much. I have two big projects. One project, waste to energy sludge project. The project has started in 2022 to generate 2 megawatt daily. By this, 30% of waste has been reduced, as well as significant impact and the reduction of odor emission by sludge. By 2025, the recycling percentage will have increased by 45%. And I have a lot of initiatives, but I cannot say it now because I will take some time. But the big project, another RDF project. The RDF project started in 2022, and the current treatment rate is 15%. Of CNI, this commercial industrial waste. By the first half of 2024, approximately 1,100 tons will be recycled, because I will send all this waste from Ajman City to this plant to make it RDF recycling. And the rate is coming 80 to 85% according to the UAE government national indicators. Also, we support sustainability. The municipality work on reusing the treated water. We reach 76%, and the goal is to go to the reach 100%. To promote sustainability practices, the municipality also, in cooperation with Ajman Sewerage Company, established a project to reuse wastewater after treatment. About 99.9% of wastewater is treated according to the approved environmental standard. The amount of wastewater treated in 2021 estimated at approximately 14,525 liters. And for green area, we target 5% of the total area. We achieve 12,225 square meter. Ajman Mangrove Afforestation and Rehabilitation Project plan more than 400,000 mangroves to support the UAE project. And for renewable energy implementation, the municipality focuses on the solar energy as a starting point. First solar panel at a fuel station. Ajman Municipality launches the project to install solar panel at the fuel station, promoting renewable energy use and addressing challenges posed by limited space in the Emirate. Sustainable development commitment. The initiative aligns with the Ajman commitment to sustainable development, offering an eco-friendly alternative to traditional energy sources and contribution to environmental protection effort. And carbon neutrality 2050 alignment. In support of the UAE's goal to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, the project aims to reduce carbon emission by 50% annually, equivalent and approximately 3,820 tons through the integration of solar power at the fuel station. And the next step will be start with the schools and universities. The last project, but not least, for Ajman carbon neutrality. This is initiative launched the Ajman pathway for carbon neutrality aligned with the UAE's 2050 strategy. It positions the Emirate as the regional leader to achieving carbon zero through pioneering initiatives. sector collaboration. The initiatives foster collaboration between the public and the private sectors, partnering with UN institutions. It emphasizes green and circular economy principles, supporting environmental commitment and sustainability. Green practices implementation. Ajman adopts green practices, including clean energy uses, waste sorting, recycling, and promoting eco-friendly transportation. These efforts aim to contribute globally and locally to the environmental goals while supporting an institution towards the path to carbon neutrality. Thank you. Sorry, I am fasting.
No, thank you very much for an applause for you, of course. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much.
I was a victim of the same long queue, so I feel you. Thank you very much for joining us anyway, and for sharing also such a interesting snapshot of what your city is doing. I think the advancement that you made around air quality, but also you mentioned these activities that you are implementing, not only in trying to have more sustainable energy options. You spoke about the waste to energy project, but also in greening your cities is very remarkable. So thank you for sharing that with us. We still have a little bit of time. I've been told that we have about half an hour left for the conversation. I wanted to check with my panelists if everyone is still comfortable taking some questions. Not only for me, I promise I will also open to the audience. Can the mayor stay for a little bit longer?
예, 뭐
Yeah,
질문
you can stay?
예, 받아도 된다고.
Okay, perfect. Then we have a little bit more time to continue the conversation here. So we were talking about, actually, since you just joined us, we were at the moment in which we were discussing about the importance of having systemic transitions that are not only bringing together what the local government is doing, but also engaging the citizens. And we reflected upon the importance for cities to exchange with each other, but also for exchanging across different levels, and in particular in engaging with the citizens. So also, fostering education, ensuring that this is a vision that we can collectively bring forward. And we dived into some of the key areas in which both Goyang and Cascais have been working. And we talked about the importance of changing our transport system to provide new solutions that are also disruptive to the way that we are doing things by engaging citizens directly in many of the activities that the city is doing. And just before you arrived, we were discussing about how can we leverage the partnership with academia and kind of further a little bit more even the access to new solutions that can really help us implement this vision that we have to a more sustainable future for the community. Now, to follow up on that conversation, I kind of would like to hear from you what is your take around the potential from one side of digitalization, so the opportunities that digitalization brings us in leveraging the transition, but also brings it on board. And on the other side also, what are the opportunities to continue to innovate with other nature-based solutions or with solutions that come from our heritage, from our story, from the ways that our population have been doing things for a very long time. So these are two phases of innovation, but again, two things that can be brought together very well to try to see how we can shape our future. Any reflection on either or both? What is the potential here that we have for the future? Maybe it's a little bit more about the green solutions that the city of Ajman is bringing forward. Maybe you can share that with us.
When I mentioned, because the smallest emirates and no more area, always we find the good solution about that problem. Also with the sharing with the universities, students and schools and stakeholders to push them how to encourage our city to go to make sustainability and do the climate change. And I will share with them the informations and also the demo project. Some students come to teach from Ajman Municipality about how to solve this problem and how to put the indicators for like Ajman carbon neutrality pathway. Like this is, I think, the encourage people for everything, and one group. Now, Ajman government and Ajman society, and also with the environmental issue. This is like it come combined. Like we cannot go to the through without them. We work together to put our target in the right way.
Thank you very much for that. I think it's very important to bring students and really kind of universities and everyone on board to really further these different steps. You were mentioning before about this app on mobility that you have in Cascais that allows citizens to this is a way to use digitalization for public participation. Can you tell us a little bit more about how this is working and if you recommend it to others, for example, as a solution, and maybe if anyone inspired you to test some of these solutions?
Before answering that, I'm a politician, so I never answer the questions directly.
That's
so
okay.
I'm joking. I'm just joking. About digitalization and the role of digitalization on all the things and the matters that we have discussing in this panel. And my background is computer science, so I'm a technology-driven guy. So I really think that technology is not an end in itself, but it's a driver to help us in all these processes of engaging citizens or solving problems, being faster in terms of, and lean in terms of finding solutions and delivering services. And we are working and we have in place what we call the Cascais cockpit, is a control center of the city where all the millions of sensors that we have in place already in the city, all the data that is that comes from all these sensors is driven to that Cascais cockpit, and that Cascais cockpit is different from all the other control centers that I've seen all over the world because it has a dimension. It has an AI engine behind it, and it is not reactive, it's proactive. The AI engine is always learning the patterns and the flows of data within the city, and it tries to anticipate what will happen in half an hour and an hour later. So, for instance, if we have a shortage on electricity on one side of the city, the engine knows that with a probability of 30% or 40%, we'll have issues on the bike sharing system or in the smart waste management system or housing electricity or and so on and so on. So the system works as in a predictive dimension. And with this system, we'll be able next year to be the first city in Portugal, maybe in Europe, I don't know. It's a pretty bold statement to say in Europe, but I'm pretty sure that in Portugal we'll be the first to sign SLAs with our citizens. In that dimension of creating trust and that dimension of good incentives, we'll sign SLAs as the private sector signs SLAs with the customers. We'll have SLAs signed with our citizens. For instance, to fix a hole in the street, we have an SLA signed for a week or 15 days to solve and fix the hole. To license a new restaurant, we'll have an SLA signed with our citizens that we are obliged to license a new restaurant in 1.5 months, for instance. And we have all these services with quite clear KPIs, quite clear SLAs, service level agreements, signed with our citizens. And if we cope and comply with all those SLAs, we have good incentives on the public service side or negative incentives on the public service side if we can't comply with those SLAs. So this will build trust. And this is possible with digital in place, with technology in place, and all this brain that is working and managing the city nowadays and is helping the public servants and our staff to deal with all the problems and issues that appear every day in the city. So digital is working with us and helping us in this process of engaging citizens in solving the issues, and it's quite important. It's not an end in itself. We can't buy technology as we buy gadgets, and I'm gadget addict. No, we buy technology with a motto, with a goal, with a strategy in place to solve a particular issue and the problem. And that's the dimension that we are using the digital side and the digitalization of the society and all this data and the Big Brother thing. And that's important, and we are working with that dimension, but we are taking the best of the digital to work with us together to solve all the issues.
Thank you very much. And I wonder whether Goyang can also maybe reflect on some opportunities that digitalization is bringing, or maybe some challenges that you are facing, maybe lack of data, or something else that you would like to do and see as your next steps for the future to really use the potential of this type of solutions.
고양시가 직면한 이런 환경 문제를 해결하기 위해서 지금 수행하시는 디지털 기반 방법, 디지털화를 기반한 방법을 좀 소개해 주시면 좋을 것 같습니다.
갑자기 그 질문들이 점점 더 커지는데, 실제로 우리 고양시가 현재 갖고 있는 그 자원으로 이해하면 환경에 대한 부분에 대한 내용은 다양하게 이제 시행되는 부분이 있습니다. 이를테면 우리가 얘기하는 하천 관리를 어떻게 해 나가는지에 대한 부분이 하나가 있을 수 있고요. 그리고 그동안 우리 고양시가 갖고 있는 자원 중에 하나가 이 습지 관리에 대한 부분들을 람사르 협약에 그 지정되어 있는 습지도 지금 우리가 실제적으로 잘 관리해 체제를 갖추고 있는 상황이기도 하고, 그리고 특히 다른 것보다도 그 고양시 안에서 일어나는 그 공해 문제나 아니면 미세먼지 문제 이런 것들을 해결하기 위해서 우리가 작은 숲이라고 하는 도시 숲을 지금 이제 그 개발을 해서 꾸준히 공급하기 위해서 지금 노력하고 있는데, 이런 것을 실제적으로 이제 디지털로 가기 위한 방안 중에 하나로 이제 진행하고 있는 것이 바로 우리 고양시는 앞으로 도시 전체를 스마트 시티로 가기 위해서 기반을 지금 갖고 있는 상황입니다. 아마 그 스마트 시티 해 나가는 거에 아마 그 대한민국에서는 가장 모델이 될 수 있는 그런 여건을 지금 갖추기도 하고, 그리고 실제로 그 국가에서 하는 공모 사업에서 우리 고양시가 그 일을 선정이 되기도 했습니다. 근데 그걸 통해서 앞으로 이제 디지털에 대한 개념 자체를 가장 기반이 될 수 있는 데이터 허브 체계를 구축하는 부분이 하나가 있고요. 또 하나는 그걸 실제적으로 이용하고 활용하기 위한 개념으로 우리 플랫폼을 구축하는 그 작업을 지금 진행 중에 있습니다. 그래서 향후를 대비해서 실제 갖고 있는 환경에 대한 부분들을 우리가 디지털로 완전히 이제 전환을 시켜서 그걸 네트워크로 관리 체제에 대한 부분을 이를테면 워닝 시스템도 적용을 하고, 그리고 그 관리가 좀 부족한 부분에 대한 그는 더 개선을 할 수 있는 여건을 마련하기 위해서 지금 준비 중에 있는 상황입니다.
We have many resources in Goyang City. First, riverbank management. Second, wetland management. We have a very beautiful wetland which is called Jangang wetland. Is under the protection of the Ramsar Pact. Also, thirdly, in order to find solutions for the air quality problems, we are trying to make forest, which is called little forest, across the city. As for digital solutions, we are trying to make Goyang a smart city. We also pushing ahead for Goyang to be selected as the model city, and also the national government of the Republic of Korea selected Goyang City as the potential list for the model city. In order to the digitalization of the such problems, we are trying to make a data center within the city. In order to tackle the problems that we face, we are going to find solutions, digital-based solutions. Also, we are going to make a digital platform in order to complete the complete transition, digital transition of the Goyang city. We are going to make a network such as the warning system.
Thank you very much for that, for sharing both some of the nature-based solutions that you are thinking about and how to really leverage also your ecosystem resources on the ground to support the transition of your city, and for giving us a bit of a snapshot and a vision around the digital solutions that you are planning for the future. So I know that I've been asking lots of questions. You just arrived, but I've been grilling the mayor and deputy mayor here for about an hour. So I would like to now give the opportunity also to colleagues in the audience to ask away their questions. And while everyone is thinking, I see some hands almost ready to go up. I just want to mention a little bit of a promo spot because the issue around, we didn't talk about finance quite yet today, but the issue around data, understanding how to use data and creating appropriate scenario for the transition, mobility as a key challenge, nature-based solutions and as a way to unlock the potential in our cities, together with governance, which we talked about, and of course also energy and water management are 7 key priorities that have been identified by the current cohort of cities that we have in the Urban Transition Mission, and to facilitate exchange and peer-to-peer knowledge and also access to experts actually. Within these specific, let's say, 7 macro areas, we have recently launched the opportunity for research and academia to candidate themselves to join what we call our cluster on these 7 themes, to continue the conversation and the opportunity to explore innovative ways to find solutions for the future in this specific area. So if you're interested to learn more about this, I would definitely ask you to get in touch with me and to try to see how this conversation can continue, because it's essential to continue having this wide scope, cross-cutting view across different sectors. I hope that gave you enough time to think about your questions. No one, I think you were all very, very clear then, probably. Then maybe the last thing that I would ask to all of you is, we've been talking for an hour and a half about the importance to respond to the core human needs of our societies through systemic approaches. What is the recommendation that you want to give to people sitting down here today? You can differentiate your target group if you want, it's up to you. Sitting here today on what the next steps to continue implementing their vision would be. Your key ingredient that you want to leave everyone with. Asta, please.
After all that I just said, I think the key ingredient is trust. That's the main issue nowadays in our societies, is the lack of trust. We are living wars because there's no trust between the two sides. We are living in this dichotomy between the ones that are leading the pack in terms of climate change fight and the ones that are slowly towards that goal because they don't trust each other. So we must build up trust. Trust is the key word in the end of the day, because as a computer scientist, I work in a daily basis with silicon chips, but these computers that we are carbon computers, and this carbon computing that we have inside of our brains is quite complex, and that's why we need to build up trust to put all these carbon computers working for a common goal.
So trust each other, but also use your brain.
Exactly.
Thank you. That was very good and important ingredient or recommendation. Maybe we can go to the mayor, Goyang.
지금까지 이제 고양시의 환경 문제를 해결하기 위한 체계적인 접근에 대해서 말씀해 주셨는데, 여기 앉아 계신 청중께 이런 고양시의 비전을 실행하기 위한 전략을 간략히 좀 설명해 주십시오.
예, 어떻게 보면 도시가 갖고 있는 특성들이 아마 전 세계 어느 도시에도 다 다를 거라고 봅니다. 근데 거기에 맞는 뭐 나름대로의 방법을 이제 강구를 해야 된다고 생각이 드는데 고양시는 사실 앞으로 나가야 할 길 중에 하나는 시민들이 그런 어떤 문화와 그런 어떤 체계를 갖추는 과정들이 좀 필요한데 그거는 뭐 제도적으로만 해결될 문제는 아니라고 생각이 들고요. 우리 스스로 그런 것들을 끊임없이 같이 공감하면서 실천하는 과정이 필요하다는 생각이 들고요. 그리고 고양시 특징 중에 하나가 다른 어떤 도시보다도 이제 우리가 일반적으로 얘기하는 배드타운의 그런 어떤 특성이 좀 있는데 그 배드타운에 걸맞는 우리 환경에 대한 부분 또 이제 우리가 탄소 중립에 대한 부분들을 어떻게 가져갈 것인가에 대한 고민은 다른 어떤 도시보다도 문화적인 부분에서의 어떤 전환이 되면 엄청난 효과를 가장 많이 누릴 수 있는 여건이기도 한데 그걸 하기 위해서 최소 고양시의 방향적인 부분에서의 고민은 우리 모두가 우리 스스로의 실천이 우리 스스로의 함께하는 것이 우리의 미래를 제대로 만들어갈 수 있다, 미래다 이런 어떤 개념 속에 나가기 위해서 우리 스스로 시 차원에서도 또 뭐 교육과 그런 문화를 구축하기 위해서 노력하려고 합니다.
I think that each city has its own features when it comes to tackling climate action, but I think that customized solution is needed for Goyang City. In building a specific culture for Goyang citizens is very required. Also, not only the institutional issues, but also make people practice their own agendas for climate action is very important. Goyang City is particularly a bed town, a suburb of the Seoul capital area, so that it has very own features as a bed town. So, as a suburb or suburban city of Seoul capital area, carbon neutral policies needs very cultural activities. I think that the direction for carbon neutral and climate change tackling is very important, especially make people practice their own agendas is very important. So the city government of Goyang will try to make its own climate tackling action and also the educational issues as well.
Thank you very much. I think this idea that we need to customize solutions to the needs and to the core human needs of our citizens, but also to make sure that we are serving their specific agenda when it comes to helping us in this larger vision. It's a very important point. So thank you very much. If I may, one ingredient that I think we can agree we all need from the CEO of the city of Ajman is resilience. I think today you proved it, coping with the heat. But maybe you have another suggestion that you can share with us, your special ingredient that you want to share with us.
I think with my case for a small state and small land, I think we should work together with the private sector to encourage them about the use of the renewable energy, like solar panel and wind turbine. We cannot put it more plant to forestation or something. It's difficult now for small land. I think to go to for the renewable energy, we can use in a small land, but sharing with the private sector and society.
Thank you very much for that as well. I think we are ready to close. If there is no burning question. Okay, so it was a very, very rich discussion. Thank you so much to my panelists. Please give them a huge round of applause. I think one thing that I am left with after this panel is how incredibly proud all of you are of the place where you come from, that you're helping shaping their vision. This is, I think, a very essential element when we are trying to design something that is so disruptive as a more sustainable future for all of us. I'm also left with the idea that trust is a key ingredient if we really want to bring everyone on board and build the partnership that we need, both with the citizens and with the private sector, among others, to really kind of work together in that direction. I also am left with this feeling that there are a lot of tools out there that we can leverage. We talked about education as a way for engagement, digitalization as a way to connect people and our services better, but also to be more accountable to a certain extent for the services that we are providing. We talked about customization of solutions and learning how to use our ecosystem and our nature to help us in this different endeavor. And we talked about co-creation across the board. And we actually managed to have a full discussion for an hour and 40 minutes without mentioning money that much, which is important. It really means that there is an ambition that is driving us all for a more sustainable future that really goes beyond just the challenge around acquiring the right resources. There is the willingness, there is the ambition, and I think this is the key ingredient to really drive forward global systemic innovation. So hopefully we were true to the name of the pavilion that has hosted us today, and I look forward to continue learning from all of you, all the great activities and the projects that you have on the ground, and also from all of you, please continue engaging in this conversation. There is a wonderful program in the next days in this pavilion. Continue learning more about what cities and other innovators are doing across the world to make our world a better one for our future. So thank you once again from my side, and looking forward to the continuation of this discussion.